On today's podcast, we're going to do things a little different. Normally, when we record a podcast, we have an idea of what we want to talk about and we kind of write out bullet points and go, okay, we want to hit this point and this point and this point and this point. Today, we have a topic, but we have no bullet points. We have no plan. We have no outline. We're going to completely wing this. And I know you are super excited about that.
I am not at all excited about it, but I'm willing to do this because I think the topic is so important.
Today, we're going to talk about what I consider to be the most inflammatory ingredient you could possibly take in when you're on a keto lifestyle. Honestly, this is the most inflammatory thing you can add to your body, period. Whether you're doing keto, even on your own job, it's more inflammatory than seed oils. It's more inflammatory than sugar. It's more inflammatory than wheat.
This is toxic, what we're going to be talking about today, a very toxic ingredient. And what makes it so dangerous is I think that we allow ourselves to have just a little bit of this all the time because we have wrongly believed that it's innocuous, that it's not toxic. And therefore, we just go ahead and let it in. Hey, what's up, family? I'm Rachel.
And I'm Joe.
And we are
Two Crazy Ketos. And if you're new to our channel, welcome. Here on Two Crazy Ketos, we do different things like recipe videos and we do product reviews. We talk about various keto topics, and every Monday we go live on Keto Beyond the Couch because life exists beyond the couch.
You can find us in different social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
And we have a website, which is twocrazyketos.com, and that's where you're going to find all of our different recipes. Now, we do upload at least 5 new videos every single week, so make sure you subscribe to our channel.
And don't forget to hit the little bell icon, and that way every single time we upload a new video, you'll be alerted to it.
Are you ready to do this?
It's unscripted, Joe, so of course I'm not ready to do this.
So today, we are recording a podcast for our podcast. And if you don't know that, we do have a podcast, and it's available on all of the different podcast platforms. And generally, when we're having a discussion with just the two of us, it only shows up on podcasts.
Right.
We rarely make it a video version. The video ones are usually only interviews. But this month, we have a subject for our monthly challenge. Focus. And we decided we were going to turn this into a podcast. And we wanted to talk about ingredients that really can affect our journey on keto. So today's topic is on a highly inflammatory ingredient. And as we said in the intro, I believe this ingredient to be more toxic and inflammatory than anything else that you could be putting into your mouth. And it really will affect us in so many different ways. So much so that many times this one thing causes people to quit keto.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of people, it prevents them from ever starting on eating a ketogenic lifestyle.
This ingredient is so inflammatory that it can actually undermine all of your life goals. And at the very least, keep you from enjoying any type of pursuit of your goals.
Now, I do have a little confession to make because this ingredient is not something that you actually put into your mouth, right?
Well, I mean, it's something that you chew upon. It is something that comes out of your mouth a lot of times. And even if it doesn't come out of your mouth, it's coming through your thought process and going through all of your body, I really believe.
Do you think that we've dragged this on long enough? Should we tell them what this ingredient is?
It's dread.
Not bread.
No, I mean, bread is very inflammatory, right? We're very much not incorporating bread into our life.
But we're not talking about bread.
We're talking about dread, D-R-E-A-D.
Now, before you head down below into the comments section of this video or the podcast itself, if you're listening to it on one of your podcast platforms, I want you to hear us out. Don't go down there yet and go, this was total clickbait. They're not talking about an inflammatory ingredient, because we are. And like we said, This is more inflammatory than anything you're going to put into your mouth. Why is that?
Well, because first of all, dread is emotion, right? It is an emotional response. It's an attitude. Dread is a very rare word because it's something that can be a noun. So it could be like an obstacle to your path. It can be a verb. So it's something that is active that you can carry with you. And it's also an adjective. It could describe something. So it's a very powerful word that I believe we wrongly categorize as no big deal. Like we give sanctuary to dread. And it's something that we can bring into every area of our life, but I don't think that we realize how undermining it is. And if you're somebody right now who's thinking like, this is not a big deal, you may be like us and in most danger of being influenced by it.
Yeah. Let's talk about dread and why it's so bad. Because I know for me, when I got started on keto, there were a lot of things that I dreaded. And, if you listen to our podcast, we always ask 3 questions at the end of our podcast when we have guests. We ask people, when you first got started on keto, what were you most afraid of? And then we ask people, what were you most surprised about? And then we always ask people, what is your number 1 recommendation? And whenever we interview somebody on the podcast, I try to give them examples. Like, here's my answer to these so you can kind of maybe think about like what your answer might be. When I first got started on keto, you know what I was most afraid of?
What?
I couldn't give up the bread. I was so fearful that I was going to fail because I didn't believe I could give up the bread. I was dreading having a lifestyle that meant you can't eat bread anymore.
Well, and the dread was happening while bread was still in your belly.
Mm-hmm.
So you're full of bread and you're dreading being without it. Like you haven't even gotten rid of the bread,
right?
But like the proposition that you would let go of the bread was there already. Like before you had moved forward in any plans at all, like bread is still in the house and yet dread is there in the midst of it when you're even contemplating plans. And I think for me, I didn't realize how much the whole spirit of dread permeated all of my life. It was kind of like when we were so sick in so many areas of our body before keto, I couldn't pinpoint one thing that was a culprit of my unwellness, right? I just had an overall feeling of blah. I just felt sick, tired, but I couldn't tell you like, what is the problem? Like now, when we eat something that is an inflammatory ingredient, I can immediately within moments of ingesting it, be like, okay, that I can't have that again. Like that's not good because I always feel well. So when I have a disruption of that wellness, then I can pinpoint, okay, I need to stop doing that. But when dread permeates your life, what is it that you feel bad about or you're afraid of? All I can tell you is I just am in fear of everything in every direction.
Now, I do want to say, a lot of people are going like, well, this is normal, which it is. It is something that we all suffer with. But I want to make sure that people understand, like, we're talking about dread, and some people may be going, well, that's just worry. Now, dread is worse than worrying because dread becomes highly toxic in the way we think.
Oh, absolutely. And, you can be worried about something and move forward still. But when you're really dreading something, it can, first of all, prevent you from moving forward altogether, or it can suck out any hope that you have for enjoying what you need to do. And that's a very important thing because you can dread something that you're going to do anyway.
I've got a perfect example for you. Recently, we went down to the Florida Keys. And when we went down there to go camping, we planned for this entire trip, we're going to go scuba diving.
Right.
And part of it was we're going to be heading out on a cruise. In fact, we're leaving on a cruise for the cruise in 2 days from the day that we're recording this podcast.
Right.
And Rachel's going to be going diving in Roatan. And we were like, well, let's get Rachel to jump off of a boat before we actually go on a cruise. So we head down to the Florida Keys. We go camping. The next day we pull up. We're going to do an afternoon dive. Rachel walks up to the edge of the dock and she sees 4 to 6 foot tarpon and nurse sharks. Now, I know some people are going, nurse sharks. I don't want to get in the water with nurse sharks. Calling a nurse shark a shark is like calling your pet cat a tiger. Like they're the most docile things in the world. You can put your hand all the way up in its mouth. It's not going to bite you. But you developed such a dread that you were like, not only am I not going diving, I don't want to get on this boat.
Absolutely.
It was stopping you from everything. Like you literally were shuddering at even the thought about getting on a boat, even though the only reason all of those sharks and all of those tarpon were there is because the boats had giant bait buckets hanging in the water. But it held you like just in your tracks, like I'm not going anywhere, even though you knew that you were going to enjoy diving. Whenever you go out there, you have some fear for being deeper, but every time I've ever taken you out diving, as soon as I get you below the water, you're like, la da 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 da, this is the coolest thing in the world. But that dread almost stopped everything.
Well, here's the thing. I am very cheap. I mean, we want to say thrifty. That's like the nice way to say it.
Frugal.
I'm a frugal young lady. And we had already purchased my boat ticket onto this boat.
Yep.
And that is like
$100 a person.
Non-refundable. So this is happening, right? I'm at least going to have to get on the boat. And it was cool to go on this boat. Beautiful water, perfect sunny day, nice captain, good conversation to be had by the other people on the boat. And I was instantly put into a place of dread, which prevented me from enjoying the boat ride. I'm going to be on the boat anyway. We're out in the sunshine. I'm on the water. I'm in the midst of people, but I couldn't enjoy what was happening anyway because my thoughts were dreadful thoughts. I was dreading seeing it. Now, of course, as in most cases, we didn't even see a shark. Like I didn't even see this thing that I was dreading to see. And I was going to have to ride on the boat anyway. But that's the thing about dread. It sucks all of the joy, all of the hope out of an activity that you're going to already have to do.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. When you start dreading things, it becomes more than worry because you start looking so far ahead into the future that it affects your present. Like, it's not just like, okay, I'm a little scared. I'm a little worried about this, but you start changing everything about your present based on the dread that you have for the future. I mean, you weren't even going to be in the water for another 3 hours, but you were already completely a different person for those 3 hours prior because of your dread from that. And that's what happens on our keto journey too.
Oh, absolutely. I've talked to a lot of people and it'll be like in February, I'm talking to somebody and they're very interested in going keto. They know they need it. There's a health scare that happens. That's like, now they're asking questions because this is something that they know that they need to do for their health. This isn't even like something that they're doing for cosmetic reasons. They're doing this because of health. And they are dreading it because they're thinking about, how is this going to change Christmas? How is my Thanksgiving going to be different? I mean, they're not willing to do it in February because they're worried about
a holiday
November.
That's 10 months away.
Exactly. So their dread of getting started is associated with the future. And even if you could say to them, hey, how about we like post, like put off dreading the holidays or even thinking about the holidays until later. How about we get February, March, April, May? Like, let's get these months in. Let's focus on this. But their dread becomes so formidable. It makes it so that like they can't even see the spring months. They can't even see the summer months. All they can focus on is that holiday season.
Well, the bottom line is it becomes an extra speed bump or hump that we don't need. I mean, and you know, in our neighborhood, we have speed bumps and we have speed humps. We have the ones that are nice and gradual and you can go over and you barely feel your car going over them, right? Those are the ones that some people will just kind of drive over a little bit faster. Then you have the big bumps that if you're doing more than 5 miles an hour, right, your car bottoms out.
Right.
Worry is the hump.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice and easy. I'm going to get over it. No problem. Dread is that bump.
Yeah.
Where you may come up to that thing and go like, I got to come to a complete stop before I go over this.
Well, and unfortunately, we have a lot of dread in the midst of activities that we're already going to need to do anyway. Like I think about dread in paying bills. Like you have to do your monthly bills, but I think a lot of people would say, I dread taking the time and energy to pay those monthly bills. You're going to do it anyway. You may be dreading helping your child with like an upcoming science project, right? Because you know that you're going to have to like motivate them. You're have to do all of this work. You're going to have to be on top of them to get this thing done. And you're like dreading this. What is the point of dreading it when you know you're already going to do it anyway? This is something that you're going to need to do. So it's really pointless to dread it. It doesn't add any layer of help to you. All it does is add a layer of obstacle, of just loathing this activity that you know you're going to do.
You know, we need to talk about how we can overcome dread on our keto lifestyle. And again, I said, we're going to wing this. So this may sound totally crazy, but you were just talking about dreading bills. Like, and I hate paying bills. Everybody hates paying. I don't think there's any, but maybe an accountant, you know, that likes to pay bills. And for me, I think one of the worst things is when you would sit down and write the check, right? And so what I have discovered for myself, an easy way to get rid of the dread of paying the bills that, like you said, we have to do anyway. I set up all of our bills on automatic payment because now I don't have to think about it. You know I'm going to make sure the money is in the bank. I don't see it come out until after it's already gone. I don't have to think about it. It's just the bill gets paid magically. I think we could transfer that over to the keto lifestyle. Like if we are dreading not having food that we like, if we're dreading being hungry, one way that we can overcome that dread in our keto lifestyle is by figuring out some of the foods that we do like that maybe that don't involve sugar and pasta and grains and wheat and all of that kind of stuff. Like, for example, bacon, right? Like that was a key selling point for me when it came to keto is like, okay, well, I can't have bread anymore, but I get to have bacon and I get to have burgers and I get to have cheese. And I don't have to feel guilty about eating cheese. Whereas like even peanut butter. I mean, I know peanut butter is a sore subject in our house because we'll eat an entire jar in a sitting. But I remember growing up, my dad was always sneaking peanut butter. And my mom was always like, that's not good for you because, again, low fat. Right? Everything was low fat. Now we're on a diet where it's okay in moderation because it's very high in fat and calories and you can easily overdo it. But what I started realizing is I can take the things that I can't eat and replace them with things that I'm going to find delicious that most people in a standard American diet say that you shouldn't eat. So one way to avoid that dread is to meal prep those things, right? And just like I'm doing with my bills where I'm going out and I'm setting up ahead of time, like these are just going to get paid. If I meal prep and have all of this stuff all ready to go in my refrigerator, and I start going, I don't know. I can just open up my refrigerator. It's already there. It's already prepared.
I like where you're going with this. I like, first of all, immediately like flipping a thought, right? Like because, and that's one way that you can quickly identify dread. It's almost like you could talk about it like this. Oh, I dread this. I don't want to do this. So immediately flipping it and being like, okay, I acknowledge it. I don't want to do this. Well, what do I want to do? What do I like? So when it comes to keto food, you're right. when you identify, I don't want to go without the bread, immediately flip the thought to, well, what do I like to do that would be keto related? Instead of focusing on the negative, immediately flip it to what is something that is doable. And I think that what goes along with that thought and something that you've kind of set yourself up for with automatic bill pay is don't budget a lot of time to think about what you don't like. Right? Like you don't want to give a lot of sanctuary to really mull this over for a long time. Part of you being successful in bill paying and reducing the amount of time of dread over this topic is you've set it up to be fast choices. Like it's a fast choice. Boom, 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 pay the bill, click. So it's like the more that you sit around and think about getting started, then all you're doing is like sitting around dreading it. Like, don't think about it. Don't allow yourself to become paralyzed by analysis of this problem, but make the choice quickly. If you're like, hey, I know I need to stop eating bread. I know I need to stop eating sugar. Go immediately to the pantry and eliminate the problem quickly. Like, don't make it something that you try to abide with. Do it fast. Like, get that job done quickly.
So we've flipped the script on the foods that we might miss and dread about missing. Let's talk about another subject that I know is a touchy subject for you. And I think it's something that people dread having to do this. And let's flip the script and figure out like, how could we make this not a dreadful like activity? And that would be movement.
Movement. Yes. That is definitely
people
something.
Dread that.
Oh, they dread it. And I was one of those people that dreaded movement. And here's another example. It's like, I'm not confused on whether or not I need to move.
We're going to do it.
It's like, it's non-negotiable. You need to do it. And I don't think that anybody is looking forward to a time in their life where maybe you won't be as mobile as you are right now. So it's not like you're hoping that one day I will like be bedridden. That is not the goal. We know that we should be thankful for the movement that we are able to do. Mm-hmm. We know that movement is necessary. It's kind of like eating nutritional food, right? It's not negotiable. And once you identify what is nutrition to your body and what is poison to your body, dreading nutrition is not helpful. It doesn't do anything, right? So when you identify, I do need to move every day. That is not subjective. That is a fact.
You're going to do it. Even if it's just going to the bathroom and going to make your food, you're going to move.
And dreading it does not change the fact that it is necessary. It does not give you motivation to get it in either. It is not empowering in any way. Dreadful thoughts do not help you to make anything change when it is a fact, right? Like if I dread paying bills, it is not going to change the fact that I need to pay those bills. I still need to do it. Dread just makes it more miserable. So movement is not negotiable. I need to move every day. I know that that is a fact. Me dreading getting it in, that this is going to be so terrible, isn't going to help me. So what I need to do, first of all, in my opinion, is decide to enjoy it. It is a decision.
Are you going to enjoy doing like a 5K run, or are you going to find a different way to do it?
If I decide I'm going to enjoy it, then I will make choices that decide to enjoy it. I mean, and the proof of that is taking a family to Disney World. You have to decide you are going to have a fun time on a family trip, right? Because if you think too much on the dreadful side of it, I'm going to tell you, we're going to tear up the minivan. We're going to make that, it's going to stink.
Well, you know the saying, the more the merrier? That does not apply when you go to a theme park.
Right.
Right?
It's going to be hot on a family trip. I mean, we could start dreading it, right? I'm going to have a ton of laundry when we get back. I'm going to have all kinds of things that's piled up at work if we take time off for a family trip. I mean, again, I could find the negative. Like it is easy to find the negative. It can be challenging to find the good, but finding the good, finding the opposite of dread, that can actually be motivating. The dread is in no way motivating, but finding the good can be motivating. So if I'm going to spend time on anything, I want to spend my time investing in finding the good, seeking that out. So if I've decided, yes, I'm going to enjoy the 5K, then I can start looking for the good. So for instance, we're going to be doing a 5K on the ship.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was talking to my friend Sarah G, who was like, we're going to do the 5K, right? Like we're going to do that on the ship. So if I just look at the movement aspect of it and start thinking about my heartbeat racing, maybe there's a possibility that I may cramp in some way while we do it. If I focus on that, I won't look forward to it. But if I look forward to the medal that I'm going to receive as I complete it, if I look at the fact that Sarah and I are going to do it together, I'm not going to be alone in this. It's something that is going to be a memory-making opportunity that we can add to our scrapbook of friendship. Then I don't dread it. I start to look forward to it. I mean, it's unimaginable to Rachel a decade to go to think that she would look forward to something like that. But now it seems completely possible because I'm setting the goal, I'm choosing not to dread it. And so because I've made the choice not to dread it, I start building a case for why I should enjoy it. And another thing that I think of when in terms of this 5K is it's building my stamina because Michelle, our daughter, has also said, hey, I want to do a 5K later in the year, like in October, and we could do that as a mother-daughter, even grandbaby thing that we could do it all together because she could run and like push Peyton in the stroller. So now again, I can't have thoughts of dread toward a 5K because now
you're finding enjoyment in it.
Because this is something that's I'm going to be able to do with my daughter and my granddaughter. And so again, I'm just building a case for why I should enjoy it.
Now, for me, when it comes to movement, I find a different way to have enjoyment with it. You're saying just flip the script and change the way your mind thinks. For me, my mind doesn't work that way. If I've put in my mind, I'm not going to like this, I'm not going to like it. Hence why I don't eat tuna fish. Now, when I was a kid, I didn't like tuna fish and it was kind of forced on me. There is a good chance that at 52 years old, I like tuna fish now. I haven't put tuna fish in my mouth ever since I was like 12, other than maybe like our tuna croquette recipe, because let's face it, when you could take tuna fish and hide it with enough ingredients that it doesn't taste like tuna fish, but straight like tuna salad, no thank you. Because I've got just this thing on my mind. No, not ever am I going to do that. Kind of like you and liver, right? Well, that's how I feel about running a marathon or doing other exercise. If you tell me you're going to exercise, I'm going to dread that. Like for the next week, I would be thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to suck. I don't want to do this. I don't want to lift weights. I don't want to go on a 5K. So for me, I have to find a way to get that same movement in and that activity in without realizing that I'm getting movement or activity in that's benefiting my health. So what I do is I find fun things that will accomplish similar movement. You mentioned going to Disney World. So go to Disney World, go to Universal Studios, go to a water park. You know, you go to a water park, you got to walk up and down stairs all day. I'm getting movement in. I'm exercising, but I'm enjoying it. So I don't dread it. In fact, I look forward to it. When we're going to a water park, I'm not for a week thinking, to myself, oh my gosh, I'm going to climb like 100 flights of stairs. I'm thinking about how much fun we're going to have on the way down.
Right.
Now I'm way into scuba diving. I scuba dive 2 or 3 times a week. And now I'm a dive master. I'm working in the professional side of it. And I've been dive guiding people. And here's the thing about that. When you're a dive guide or a dive master and you have clients, you're kind of like, their personal escort. It's like you're their personal doorman, like in a hotel. I'm their concierge. My job is to take care of them. And one of the ways I have to take care of them is I have to carry their tanks. Those tanks are not light. But see, I'm enjoying the whole idea of showing them a good time on our beautiful South Florida reefs. I'm enjoying going diving. So I'm not thinking like a week ahead of time going, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to carry 10 tanks from the car to the boat, load them into the boat, and then bring them back. I'm thinking about how much fun I'm going to have underwater and showing these people a good time underwater. But it so happens that I have to make 10 trips carrying 40 to 80 pounds in my arm. So I'm getting some functional fitness in without realizing I'm getting fitness in.
Well, and I like how you said, you have to flip the script. You have to flip your thought process. But that flip doesn't happen as quickly as what you're saying. Like flip sounds immediate, right? But what I have found is in order to be able to flip things pretty quickly in the moment, you have to be practicing this consistently on a daily basis. And I know you tease me all the time about like journaling and all that sort of thing, but that's been really helpful to write down things. And, I can remember when I was in English classes and always my favorite subject in school, creative writing.
I mean, we did get an English lesson earlier with adjective and verb and noun.
Right. But what you'd have to do is, write things in an inverted way. You would have to practice like what would be the opposite of this sentence? How would you move things around and change it, in your like dissection of a sentence? And I think that is, required for having this mindset. Like you have to just continue doing it consistently. I was probably somebody that dreaded things the most, really anxiety, worry, doubt. It permeated me. I dreaded things at work. I dreaded things as a mother. I dreaded things in our marriage relationship. I dreaded, getting healthy. There was so much dread because I was not practicing on a daily basis, flipping negative thoughts and entertaining positivity. So I think that's something that you have to do every day. Even when you talk about the Bible and we talk about meditation, like meditating on a word, if you look at, what is the actual like definition of that meditation and what is like the root of that, it has to do with ruminant animals, oddly enough. It has to do with chewing on a scripture and swallowing it, like digesting it, and then being like, is there something more that I could get out of it? Which is what an animal does. Is there anything more I can get out of it? So it pushes it out of that stomach. The animal almost vomits it up, chews on it a little bit more to see if there's more nutrients to be gained, swallows it again, and like continues that process. And that's kind of what we do with scripture of like, we read a scripture and then like you chew on it, think about it, and then you realize there's more to it. Maybe at a different point in your life, you see that scripture and you're like, gosh, I've read that scripture so many times. And yet I feel like there's more to get out of it based on this season of life that I'm in right now. And it's the same thing with our thoughts and our positivity. Like we need to chew on positive thoughts as much as we have chewed on negative thoughts. And I have definitely been somebody that's guilty of staying up all night chewing on worry. So I've got to practice chewing on positivity.
Yeah.
Seems very foreign to me at first, but given enough days doing it consistently, it starts feeling possible to do.
Now, there's one other thing that I think can really affect somebody's keto journey, and a lot of people dread about it. And I know this was a huge dread for me when I got started. When I got past the dreading, can I live without bread? The next big dread, and I think a lot of people have this when they start on, keto or carnivore or any form of the proper human diet, that is, what if I fail? Like they dread failure. Because for many of us, this is like a last resort, right? Like we've tried everything else. Like we've tried the cabbage soup diet and the progressive soup diet, and we've tried Jenny Craig and Nutrisystem and Weight Watchers. And I mean, everything you can think of. And I think a lot of us come into keto and we're dreading, like, I've tried everything else. Well, what if this doesn't work? How can we overcome that dread?
The only thing that can really combat dread, like you're saying, is hope. Like you have to start building your hope. You have to start depositing hope. And I mean, hope is like, the hope you want is not like fingers crossed hope, but a confident expectation of good. And we have hope in other areas of our life that we can anchor to. You know, we don't know what we're doing when we become a parent, but we go ahead and we decide to become a parent anyway, whether it is, you know, biologically, or maybe it's through adoption, maybe it is through marriage and a blended family. I had to hope that I could become a mother to John Paul and Anthony, even though I knew that there was several years that they had lived before me. You know, I could have dreaded coming in and becoming a mother to them because I didn't know what they're like. Maybe they don't like me. You know, maybe I will fail in this. I've only ever mothered one child at a time. And what if I won't be good? Maybe I will fail at mothering multiple children. But I brought with me into this marriage a hope, a belief that I would have what I needed when I needed it. I had a hope that I would rise to the occasion. And I wasn't a perfect mother. I still am not. I never will be.
I tend to disagree with that, but that's okay.
I appreciate that. But I determined that I would bring my best to every day. And that is all that I could do. And that every 24 hours were going to be unique, and they would have their unique ups and downs, but I would be bringing my best to it. And I mean, I think we have hope at work. You know, whenever you are trying to reach for a promotion at work, you know, if you are a high school student having ambition for college, you don't know if you're going to pass a test or fail a test. They don't hand you the diploma on the first day of college, but you have a hope that even though you've never done this before successfully, that you could reach for this, and you put all of your energy into it. So I think that this is the same thing. This is new. You've never passed the test. You've never crossed the finish line of success in this health arena, but you still have to come to it with a hope that this will be different.
So years ago, I was in sales, and as I was learning to be a salesman, and then I began training salespeople, and it was about becoming successful, I had a saying. And the saying was, when you're not there yet, fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
Act as if. So like, act as if I'm already successful. Like, don't lie, but just act as if I'm already there, because that will help your mind get there. And as you're talking about, we have to take that dread and turn it into hope. It's very difficult to do when you're 200 pounds overweight and you've failed at every diet you've ever done. So I've got a great place to get that hope from. The place to get that hope from is to look to people who have already had success.
Yeah.
To look and go, hey, this person has done it. I can do it. And it's not like, well, they're, like I'm better than them. It's going, other people have had the success. So it is possible. And that's where like our Mighty Networks community really comes into play, because you can jump into there and fake it till you make it. You can jump into our community and go, hey, I'm dreading this right now. I'm struggling with this right now. Who can hold my hand who's already walked part of this walk? Who can guide me along? Like, I'm a dive guide, right? My job is to take you to places that you have not yet been, that I have been, and show you, Here's where the eel likes to hide. Hey, over there, a lot of times there's a big loggerhead turtle. Hey, over here, there's a bunch of lobsters. That's my job, to show you around in a place that you are unfamiliar. And that's where our community can really help you overcome that dread and turn it into hope.
Well, and when you're saying fake it till you make it, it's not an insincerity, and it's definitely something that we utilize in things like parenting, right? There's a lot of times where you're faking it until you make it as a parent, right? Because you are having to live through a situation before you are proficient in that situation. And I think about like John Paul and Michelle right now are transitioning from Peyton only drinking breast milk to try to move into eating actual food, right?
Another thing that you can dread.
You can absolutely dread. And so Michelle and John Paul have kind of been faking it till they make it, as they are sitting there presenting Peyton with real food ingredients and smiling and being excited for it. But like they were handing her a piece of an avocado, for instance, and they're not letting her know by their facial expressions that they are absolutely terrified at the proposition of her possibly like biting off more than she could swallow, right? Because they need her to start interacting with food, but they have never parented a child through interacting with solid food for the first time. And so they're nervous about it, but they have to get through this and not scare her, right? Like, because if they have a face of dread, if they look like they're totally fearful, they may make her put the food down and not want to interact with it. And she can't be living on breast milk for the rest of her life. She can't be like 18 years old and I don't eat solid food, right? So that is not the plan. So they have to fake it till they make it to a certain extent and decide to be positive and, be prepared to intervene. So it was so funny. Michelle was saying that I am sitting right in front of her for every single interaction with this food. I'm not even latching her into her high chair all the way. I'm not buckling the high chair because I am prepared at any moment to like pull her out of it quickly if I need to for some reason. But as far as she's concerned, I'm just smiling and enjoying this and like, yes, this tastes delicious, even though she's giving her liver.
Some of the things that she's giving her, I'm like, I don't know. They're a better parent than I was because like they're giving them things like liver that's been chopped up and pureed with other ingredients. And they're telling me what they're giving. I'm like, ugh. And they've got to present this to Peyton with a smile on their face, like this is the most delicious thing in the world. And they don't even know because they're not eating it.
Because, they're eating it now because they want to help. But yeah, because their plan is they're not led by what Peyton may enjoy the most. They are feeding to nutrient density because Michelle realized very quickly that as she's starting to interact with food, Peyton is only getting like a tablespoon or two in. Therefore, she does not want to give Peyton filler food that's not going to do a job.
None of those mushy cookies. Do you remember those things? Did you give them to Caleb?
Oh, absolutely.
Like that just smushed everywhere. Like none of that stuff. That's a filler.
Yeah, it's just a filler.
Like, remember
food.
cereal in the formula?
She's not interested in Peyton only having like food to be a placeholder and just have her interact. She really wants the food to do a job. So she's like, hey, it looks like babies can be very iron deficient. So if I can only get 2 tablespoons of food into her, then it needs to be the most high in iron content that it can possibly be so that it's like doing its best job. Now, I have another possible dreading situation that I'm going to ask you now. How would you combat this? All right. So one thing that I think that a lot of people dread when it comes to changing the way they eat or incorporating movement or anything like that, they're dreading the reaction of other people in their life. They're dreading presenting this and letting other people know at work, in their family. They're going to dread the holidays, not just because they're going to miss out on a certain kind of food, but because other people are going to have to be aware that they're doing it and they're dreading the reaction of others. So what would be your recommendation for combating that sort of dread?
This is a hard one. And I didn't know you were going to ask me this, but
Unscripted.
Again, we said we were going to go unscripted. This is a hard one because I think that we all want to fit in with people. But here is the cool thing about keto now, okay? And I think it helps more and even now than it did years ago, like when we first got started, because now there are a lot of keto options.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was no real keto chocolate when we got started on keto. Lily's was kind of just coming onto the market, but they only had chocolate chips. They didn't have chocolate bars. There was no Choc Zero. None of that stuff existed. So this is where I find you can occasionally incorporate some keto products in parties, things like that. Like, I don't believe that a keto dessert, whether it be a store-bought one or a homemade one, should be a part of your everyday life. I don't think you should be making like a keto cheesecake and eating it every single day, because I think that's going to be detrimental to your journey overall. But if there's a party or something like that, the keto ingredients have gone so much, they've gotten so much better.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's more options. We have things like allulose now. We have different things that really can pass for like not keto. And so we can enjoy these holidays and these special times without, really feeling left out. Now, as far as dealing with like friends and family members and doctors and coworkers, the only real way you're going to be able to deal with that is to say to yourself, I'm important.
Yeah.
I'm important and my health matters. And I've made this decision that I'm going to get healthy. And at some point, and this is hard. I mean, this is me, I'm a people pleaser. And so I want to make people happy. And this is something that I struggle with for a long time, but somewhere you've kind of got to make the decision of I come first.
Yeah.
And you have two options once you make this decision of I come first. You can tell your friends, your family members, your coworkers, I come first, and you either join me or leave me, one or the other. Or you can just make the decision of I come first and not announce it to the world. When you go out to eat with coworkers, whatever, you don't have to tell them I'm not eating bread. Just don't eat the bread. Don't make a spectacle of it. And many times they won't even notice. I go on the dive boat 2 to 3 times a week. They love to present everybody with cookies and chips. Like the dive master walks around after we get up from a dive. Who wants cookies? Hey, Joe, do you want some chips? Now, I have never once taken the chips for the cookies, but yet they always offer them to me. And nobody has ever said to me, how come you're not eating the chips? Why aren't you eating the cookies? And I don't say back to them, like when somebody offers me, sorry, I think sugar is poison. I just say, no, thank you. And nobody questions me and nobody makes fun of me.
I like what you're saying. And I think that that's true, that you don't have to like make a Broadway show out of it, right? Going back to bill paying, because we've kind of like talked about that a lot in as far as dread goes, because I think that it's very relatable for everybody. Whether or not you dread paying bills, it has to be done. So you might as well not dread it, because dread is just going to suck out your energy. It's going to suck your joy. It's going to take a toll on your day. It's asking for you to expend energy on something that doesn't change any circumstances. So it's the same way with like helping your kids with homework. You know it's coming, right? Like you pick the kids up from school, you ask them if they have any homework. They say, yes, I have this, this, and this. And you know to a certain extent that you're going to have to hovercraft a little bit, whether it is to make sure that they just get it done, stay on top of them about that, or they may need your help. You can decide to enjoy it. Like, I'm so thankful that they still need me, right? Or you can decide, oh, this is going to be terrible and I dread it. Doesn't change the fact that it's still going to happen. It just means you're either going to enjoy it or not enjoy the rest of your day.
Mm-hmm.
So the same thing happens in terms of what is another person's reaction going to be to you choosing to change the way that you're eating, right? It really has no impact whether they like it or whether they don't. If they like it, that's great, but it is not going to add to your own personal consistency. You are still going to have to eat the food, whether they're like, yay, and we all throw a party for me that I've decided to go keto and I'm going to eat keto. Everybody in the world could be on board, but I'm still going to have to do the work. Like, it's great. I want them to be on board. It would be nice if they're on board, but I am still going to have to do it even if they cheer for me, right? I'm still going to have to do the hard work. If they are against me and they don't want me to do it, I'm still going to have to do the hard work because they are, back to bill paying, they are not going to pay my health bills. If they're like, hey, I want you to just go back to eating potato chips and ice cream because that's what seems familiar to me. And I want you to eat the macaroni and cheese because that's what I eat. I want you to live like me. Well, whether or not they feel better in their body or they can get away with that lifestyle longer than I can, or it's impacting them in a way that it doesn't impact me, no matter what, they are not going to have to walk inside of my body. They are not going to have to live through the medication that I've been prescribed. They are not going to have to feel the inflammation that I feel. They're not going to pay my health bills. I'm the one that's going to have to ante up for the way that I'm living. So if a coworker does not like what I've packed for lunch, I'm sorry, like that I offend you with my lunch. However, I'm not going to require you to pay my health bills.
So after almost 6 years of doing this, I've encountered pretty much 3 different types of people who oppose my eating lifestyle. You ready to hear them?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you how to deal with each one of them.
All right.
The only one that I'm not going to put in here would be somebody who's just like morally opposed to keto, like the vegans, which at that point, who cares?
There's no arguing with
right.
that.
I can't argue with that.
Yeah.
So there's 3 types of personalities that I have encountered. And when somebody comes to me and goes, I don't like your eating lifestyle, generally they fall into one of these 3 categories. A, they're genuinely worried about my health because they feel that eating a high fat, moderate protein, low to zero carb, lifestyle is dangerous.
Right.
I can understand that because we've been programmed to think that high fat is dangerous, right? You have doctors who genuinely believe. I don't blame the doctors.
No.
It's what they've been taught. Dr. Berry has talked about, like, they don't even get a full semester of nutrition in medical school. It's not their fault. They weren't taught. It's their fault if they start to hear about this and refuse to investigate more and open up their mind. But for the most part, people rightfully believe that this could be dangerous. And I can understand their feeling that way. And so the way I deal with them is pointing them to people like Dr. Berry or Dr. Sivas or Dave Feldman, other professionals, and also pointing them to people who who have had success on reversing medical conditions on keto. Now, again, we are not doctors, nurses, or health professionals. I mean, I am a certified health coach, but people come to me like, well, I recently had somebody message me going, well, eating protein, I can't eat protein because like I'm a type 2 diabetic. Well, how about I reference you to my mother-in-law who was a type 2 diabetic for more than 20 years, eats a ridiculous amount of protein, right? Because she loves protein. And she actually always wanted like lean protein, like chicken breasts and stuff like that, and chicken thighs. And she's reversed her type 2 diabetes.
Right.
Right. So I can guide them to people who are eating this lifestyle and not having the medical concerns that they may have. So that's the first personality. The second personality is the person who looks at this and goes, you're not going to be as much fun because we're eating differently now.
Yeah.
And to that, my answer has always to be, you have to come first. And if they don't want you to get healthy, you might have to have a hard conversation with yourself and go, is it really a good friend?
Well, and they may be a good friend, but what's happened is they're in a box that they don't understand they can step out of. Like they've boxed in the friendship because maybe like this is your friend that your normal activities that you share together may be eating related. So you're the person that they go out to eat with every Friday night, and they don't like they can't think about doing something else with you on a Friday night at some place other than a restaurant. So you may need to help them to be like, let's still get together on a Friday night, but if it's weird for you to eat with me, let's start doing something else. Let's go to a movie. Let's go bowling. Let's go do mini golf. Let's go, just grab a cup of coffee and like in a cafe or something, and don't put the pressure on it, to eat differently. If that's going to be too weird for them, because again, it may be that they're very negative and they've just decided that like we're in this contract together that like I didn't realize we signed an oath that we would eat the same way together forever, and this is how we were going to enjoy our friendship. I would first just try to help them redirect it, because maybe they're not like so far gone, so toxic in your life that they can't switch gears. They just can't wrap their mind around doing things differently. So maybe you can help them. I mean, maybe they're toxic and you may ultimately have to, drop them as a friend. But if it's not just a case of like, hey, we're drinking buddies and you have to stay an alcoholic in order for us to have a friendship, maybe they can just be redirected.
Yeah, because to go along with it, and it kind of falls into this same category, many times those friends also don't want you to do it because it means they have to face themselves, and a perfect example is you and I, right? So way before keto, when you first decided that you were going to lose weight, because we were both obese, you were going to lose weight. Now, you handled it in a very weird way. Like you sat in a bathtub for a week and then did 500 calories a day for a year.
But
and
I was
you did
ready.
lose weight, right? I wanted to lose weight, but not like that. So I tried to sabotage you a little bit, right? Not bad. Like I wanted you to lose weight. I wanted to lose weight, but I didn't want to eat only 500 calories a day. So I know myself and the kids, we were kind of miserable around you for a little while, because up to that point, as you said, our entire relationship, both you and I, as well as everything we did with the kids, revolved around food, right? It was today's Cece's Pizza Day. Sunday is our, hey, let's go off the rails. And all of a sudden that was gone. And when you went on this drastic diet, it did force me to look into myself and go, you probably need to lose some weight too. But I didn't want to. And I think that's what happens is people in our lives, they don't want you to have success, because if this actually works, it means they may have to change what they're doing, and they don't want to.
They're dreading it. their dread. So again, it's like dread is not innocuous because it really can even permeate relationships, right? It can creep into marriages. It can creep into the family structure because I think that a lot of it boils down to I dread the fact that you're getting healthy and I'm going to have to put eyes on what I'm doing. I dread change for myself. It's so much easier to pull you down than to let you even be because I am dreading you getting better because it's not because I don't love you and want you to be healthy. It's just that I believe that me getting healthy will also be a painful experience. And again, even though it doesn't help anything, I would rather quagmire in my dread than abandon the dread and move forward with something.
So I know this podcast is dragged on a little bit, but hey, considering we've ad-libbed it, I'm pretty proud of it so far. I've got one more. And I think this is the easiest one to deal with.
Well, did you get to the third person?
Well, that's what I said. I've got one more person. And I think this is a very common person. And this many times is a true friend. The third person that I've encountered over the last 6 years is the person that goes, it's not going to work. This sounds silly. It's just not going to work. And I don't even think you should bother trying because I genuinely don't want you to try and get your heart broken and fail. I've seen you fail these diets over and over and over again. I would rather you just accept yourself and be happy. And I think many times that is coming from a place of love in a friendship. I think that like you and I have had ups and downs on diets. We've gained and we've lost and we've gained and we've lost. And I mean, even in our last 15 years of marriage, so 10 years because keto together for 5 years. I would say between the two of us, we probably gained and lost 500 pounds, right?
Oh, easily.
Because I know I was as low as 220 pounds when we got married. And I was as high as over 300. And then I was down to 260. And then I was up to, so we definitely gained and lost. And I think that there have definitely been times where like, you know what, let's just accept who we are. We did that for a long time until we found keto. And so the way to deal with that person is to just stick to it and show them that this can work. And many times that brings them along. People ask us all the time, how do I get my spouse or my son or my daughter or my coworker to join along with me? And the answer that we always give is you're going to have to be consistent. And it may take 6 months. It may take a year. It may take 2 years. But like we said, many times they've seen us fail diets over and over and over again, and they figure it's just another fad.
Well, I think that you have to call it out for what it is. Basically, what that particular person is doing is they are dreading failure for you. They are dreading the future on your behalf. They are dreading that you're going to fail and be upset. And they're also possibly, depending on what your relationship is to them, they are dreading what they are going to have to do to help pick up the pieces after your failure. So what they're doing is they're dreading the future vicariously through you, right? Because they are anticipating a negative result. So I think that if that is the person that you feel like you're facing, I think that it would be beneficial to sit down with them and get to the root of this and just say like, I love you and I love that you care about me so much that you are actually spending up mental energy and time dreading for me. But let me show you what dread does. Absolutely nothing. If I do fail in the future, there's nothing that you can do to stop it. And if I am consistent, it's going to be because of my hard work, not because you made it happen. So you are not responsible for my choices, my eating choices every day. And if we are holding somebody else responsible, not accountable, but responsible for us, we need to change that. We need to stop that. And it's a great time, especially if it's like our children, our extended family. If they're talking like they feel responsible for our life choices and for making it happen, and maybe they're trying to talk us out of keto because they are dreading the future and what their involvement will be, let them off the hook. Let them know that you've got this, right. That you appreciate their support. But if they're trying to block you because they are dreading failure, it's not going to do anything. It's not going to prevent the failure. It's just going to make every day miserable until you prove them wrong by being successful. So don't let them be an obstacle. Don't let them lay down in the road as a speed bump. Let them know they're off duty, that they don't have to be responsible for that. And they don't have to dread the future for you, that you are choosing to enjoy your everyday life, have hope for the future and good results, and that they can just be who they are and be the friend that they need to be, that you're going to enjoy their company, their conversation, hanging out with them, and they don't have to dread for you.
I think that is a great place to end this podcast. I think it's been a good conversation on dread, and I think we've established we need to try to eliminate the dread out of our life. Now, I am curious for people who are listening or watching the video version of this, what are some things that you have dreaded when it comes to your keto lifestyles? Let's start a conversation down below in the comments section. Let us know some of the different things that you dreaded and how have you overcome that dread. I think that went pretty well for an unscripted podcast. I don't even think I have to edit anything.
I'm pretty sweaty right now. I'm not going to lie because I was a little bit nervous about it, but I'm really thankful that my dread of the unknown, typically, I flipped the script on that. And I'm willing to have hope, like we've challenged in the podcast, that there will be a good outcome. That as much as I worry that if something isn't polished, if we don't have like all of the bullet points perfect, that I'm going to make some terrible mistake or people aren't going to get something out of it. Instead, I'm going to hope for the best, which is all that I can do. That maybe there's a point that's brought up in the podcast that helps people change the way that they approach this month and the things that we need to do anyway, right? Like if it's not even related to eating, if people can go into the summer months and maybe there's something that they annually dread, maybe it's the family vacation, maybe that instead of dread, they can flip their thought process and decide every single day of this month and in everything that I do, I'm going to bring some enthusiasm, excitement, and some hope that maybe there will be something good that happens.
I'm really excited about the way this turned out. And so I think that in the future, we should do all of our one-on-one non-interview podcasts completely unscripted. Not that it's not like we ever write out a script, but usually we have bullet points. We had 0 bullet points for this one. It was literally like fly by the seat of our pants. But I think that there is some good information in this one. And I'm really excited to see how people react to it. And I think we should do this more in the future. So let us know in the comments section, should we do more videos like this in the future? Or should we just keep this to a podcast and not put it in a video? Because, listen, you can't make everybody happy. I'm sure there's going to be people saying this is too long, you clickbaited me, all of those kind of things. But I'm curious, like, is this something that you would like to see? Would you like to see more videos where we're just having an unscripted, unplanned conversation about something that comes to our mind? Because there's lots of times where we have our meetings in bathtubs and we'll be sitting in the bathtub going, hey, I thought of this. Like we could just take our bathtub meeting and put it on video, but not in the bathtub.
No.
Like not in the bathtub.
No.
Nobody wants to see
Talk
that.
about dreading something.
Let us know down in the comments section. So here's the thing. We do these podcasts. We try to put one up every single week. If you haven't already subscribed to our podcast platform, head on over to your favorite one, whether it be Google or Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any of those. Find Two Crazy Ketos. We're on all of them, and make sure you subscribe or follow to them. While you're doing that, make sure you head down below on this one and hit the subscribe button on YouTube, as well as the like button on this video. Now, if you like seeing videos like this, please take a look at some of the videos we have linked right over there. Also, make sure you take a look at the most recent videos I'm going to put right over here.
But whether you head this way or you head this way, don't forget to head this way. Subscribe to our channel and click the little bell icon, and that way every single time we upload a new video, you'll be alerted to it.
Till next time.
Bye.
Bye.